Yes.
Like, for example, yani, correct me if I'm wrong. If for example you're going to say, and Harry Pottering was afraid or was terrified. So this is what you mean, right?
Yes.
Yes, in this case, yes, but not your own feelings. So you may write
Yeah.
that the main character was scared, was terrified, was confused, wanted to go back, was not comfortable. All of these are correct. Like this can be written in a summary, but uh, not in like not your own feelings. Yeah, you can never write, I feel that this piece of art or this literature or literary piece is an excellent piece of work and so on. You cannot do this. You cannot write your own feelings. تمام.
Okay, thank you.
You're most welcome. So yesterday, someone wrote a comment. Morning, daughter. Um, Yesterday we stopped at a part in which they started noticing the change of the petals, of the blossoms, sorry, and then Harry Pittering was, I mean, the father was the only one who started noticing the change. Am I correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
but
Yes.
he was the only
Yes.
person that
Seven
noticed the
also
change in the
And
noticed
blossom.
after him.
he kept
He
telling,
was the only person that noticed the change in the blossom. But the
yes,
husband, wife, and the children did not notice the changes.
They
yes, so
Yes.
they
noticed
did
After
not
it after
notice the
him.
change, and he himself couldn't
after
tell
this, she
what
tell
kind of
her wife.
change happened. Like they couldn't tell what change happened. Like he only knew that something is wrong. He only felt that something is wrong, but he could not tell what exactly happened. He was not sure of what happened in that in the blossoms. So let
The board's all warped out of shape. It's not an Earthman's house anymore. Oh, your imagination.
let me
He
just
put on his coat and tie. I'm going
I'm trying to get
cut off. Come down. Move us out. We're helpless. The wind blew a shower of peach blossoms. He put out his sun-browned hand and gave a small cry. He touched the
yes.
blossoms and
Now we are in paragraph 51, girls. We will continue our writing. Yes, Afnan, do you have a question?
No.
Okay. We will continue the text in, yes, Jude.
Uh, so, Miss, the homework is to write a summary.
No, 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 no. And good that you reminded me of the summary, because grade seven, of the homework, grade seven, I'm really sad. I'm really, really sad. You know why?
I
Because only
Why?
17 of 50 students did yesterday's homework. Yesterday's homework was to write the answer in, like, write or take a picture of the answers of comprehension check in your textbook, and only 17 of 50 students answer the homework. Can you see my screen? Can you view the screen?
Yes. Miss,
Yeah,
I
Okay,
do it, but I do it the
I
last
I
time
know
because my
I know
computer
who
is
did.
lagging.
I know, like, look at this. Even the last homework, 18 only did it. This time, 17 only did it. Girls, I'm starting to deduct marks from the coming assessment sheet. For those who don't do the homeworks, I will start deducting marks. And as I said before, as I already said before, um, whatever is in the discussion room is a must to do homework. Whatever is found in the online assignment is a must to do homework. Other than this, all the sheets I only send it as an optional work. Like, do it or don't do it, it's totally up to you. But whenever you find anything in the discussion room, you have to answer it. Whenever you find anything in the online assignment, you have to do it. There is no discussion about it. So please be committed. Otherwise, I will start deducting marks, grade 7. Is that clear? You will
Yes.
start losing marks. Okay. So now we are in paragraph 51 and we will continue. Like we have to finish reading the whole story today, inshallah. Let's go. Starting paragraph 51. Have you opened your books?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Why can't you see my screen? Can you see the screen now, Sulaf, Durar, and Lina?
Yes, I see it, but I see for Lena, I think it's your connection. I already see it.
Okay, good. So, paragraph 51, open your books to paragraph 51 and let's start.
Them up. He turned them. He touched them again and again. Then he shouted for his wife. Cora! She appeared at a window. He ran to her. Cora, these blossoms. She handled them. Do you see? They're different. They've changed. They're not peach blossoms anymore. Look all right to me, she said. They're not. They're wrong. I can't tell how. An extra petal, a leaf, something. The color, the smell. The children ran out in time to see their father hurrying about the garden, pulling up radishes, onions, and carrots from their beds. Cora, come look. They handle the onions, the radishes, the carrots among them. Do they look like carrots? Yes. No, she hesitated. I don't know. They're changed. Perhaps. You know they have. Onions, but not onions. Carrots, but not carrots. Taste, the same, but different. Smell, not like it used to be. He felt his heart pounding, and he was afraid. He dug his fingers into the earth. Cora, what's happening? What is it? We've got to get away from this. He ran across the garden. Each tree felt his touch. The roses, they're turning green. And they stood looking at the green roses. And 2 days later, Dan came running. Come see the cow. I was milking her and I saw it. Come on. They stood in the shed and looked at their one cow. It was growing a third horn. And the lawn in front of their house, very quietly and slowly, was coloring itself like spring violets. Seed from earth, but growing up a soft purple. We must get away, said Bittering. We'll eat this stuff and then we'll change. Who knows to what? I can't let it happen. There's only one thing to do, burn this food. It's not poisoned, but it is, subtly, very subtly, a little bit, a very little bit. We mustn't touch it. He looked with dismay at their house. Even the house. The wind's done something to it. The air's burned it. The fog at night, the boards all warped out of shape. It's not an Earthman's house anymore. Oh, your imagination. He put on his coat and tie. I'm going into town. We've got to do something now. I'll be back. Wait, Harry, his wife cried. But he was gone. In town, on the shadowy step of the grocery store, the men sat with their hands on their knees, conversing with great leisure and ease. Mr. Bittering wanted a...
Okay, now what we have in front of us is this. Harry started to panic. Am I right?
Yes,
Am I?
Yeah.
Yes. So what was the main reason for him to panic? Why did he start panicking?
because all of
Everything started to change.
All
Because
the things started
Can I?
to change.
change.
Because everything started to change because not only the blossoms now, but almost everything started to change. The color of the roses started to be greenish, of like having greenish color. Even the cow started growing a third horn, and this was like weird. This is totally not normal. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, this is not
Yes.
right. This is not normal. So now Harry, like at the beginning, if you notice, at the beginning, Harry was totally like trying to keep control or like trying to stay quiet and calm in front of his kids and wife. But now he totally lost it. He cannot control over, like, he cannot take control over his feelings. Now he is totally panicking that he
Miss,
wanted to go back one way or another. Yes?
can I add something? I think it's also because these are like really important. Like for example, the peach trees. I mean, the peach blossoms, and the food. Like they need the food to survive.
Yes.
So I think that's why
Yes.
he panicked.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you. Thank you for this point. This what made him really go panic is that they need the food. And there's no way back to Earth. Like all the rockets from Earth has been destroyed because of the atom bomb that has destroyed all the rockets in New York. So he cannot go back. Nothing from Earth will arrive to Mars any sooner. So he has to find or to figure out a way to go back. This is why he went directly to the town in order to talk to the other men. Just as a reminder, there are only 1,000 human beings on Mars. Only like 1,000. Uh, let's continue.
Miss, can I say something
Uh,
before we continue?
yes, sure.
They said that they see something different, but they don't know what it is. That means
That was
that
at the
living on
beginning.
Mars started what?
That was at the beginning.
Yes, I wanted to say it. Can I?
Yes. Yes, sure.
When like they don't know what's wrong,
Yes.
so that
But you
means that
say,
living
and
on
now it's
Mars like made them like erase their memory of how things were.
Yes, like let me say in other words and correct me if I'm wrong. You're saying that being on Mars started like washing away their identities or um somehow started to change the way they comprehend or understand the change. So they know that something is wrong, but they don't really know what was wrong. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Yes. So that was at the beginning of like when he started noticing the change of the blossoms. But later on, his family started noticing the change, especially when the red roses started changing into green. That was very evident and clear. Also, when the cow started like growing a third horn, this was totally weird. Now everyone started to notice the change, but did the people in town start notice the change that Harry Bittering and his family had? Let's see.
In the air. What are you doing, you fools? He thought. Sitting here. You've heard the news. We're stranded on this planet. Well, move. Aren't you frightened? Aren't you afraid? What are you going to do? Hello, Harry, said everyone. Look, he said to them. You did hear the news the other day, didn't you? They nodded and laughed. Sure, sure, Harry. What are you going to do about it? Do, Harry, do. What can we do?
Okay. Now, from the conversation, from the dialogue that happens between Harry and the townmen, do they seem like even caring?
No.
They seem
No,
not
no,
teacher.
interested
miss.
No.
about it.
No.
Miss, I think,
No,
it's
They're
because
open
I think
minded.
it's because they already know that they're helpless.
because they already know that they are helpless. And Lena, okay. Um, so because they already know they're helpless, or they didn't really care.
I don't think they realized that
They didn't
it's
really care.
They don't care.
They
I
don't
thought,
care.
Miss,
Someone was saying
yes, they
that
don't
they
care.
didn't realize.
yeah.
Miss, I
I
thought they
think
were
they didn't
helpless because
realize
Because
I think that something has changed.
they said, what can we do?
Yes. Yes, exactly. So can you see the note that I just opened on the screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we can see it.
Yes, so Harry is alarmed by the news. He's frightened, he's scared, he wanted to do something to go back to Earth. But the others did not take his speech seriously. The dialogue makes the action move quickly. And since the dialogue makes the action move quickly, it makes it more um, tense, makes you more tense, creates a tense mood. Let me add it. It creates a tense mood. So now imagine that you are there trying to engage people, trying to convince them that something is wrong happening over there, and they seem to be funny and careless. Won't you feel disturbed?
And I was
Yeah.
really mad.
Yes. And that's what he had. This is what he felt, Harry betrayed. This is why like when he continues, when they ask him what can we do, he said build a rocket. That's what he wanted, to build a rocket all on his own and go back to Earth. Everyone in town started making fun of his idea. Let's see this.
Build a rocket, that's what. A rocket, Harry. To go back to all that trouble? Oh, Harry. But you must want to go back. Have you noticed the peach blossoms, the onions, the grass? Why, yes, Harry, seems we did, said one of the men. Doesn't it scare you? Can't recall that it did much, Harry. Idiots! Now, Harry. Bittering wanted to cry. You've got to work with me. If we stay here, we'll all change. The air, don't you smell it? Something in the air. A Martian virus, maybe. Some seed or a pollen. Listen to me. They stared at him. Sam, he said to one of them. Yes, Harry. Will you help me build a rocket? Harry, I got a whole load of metal and some blueprints. You want to work in my metal shop on a rocket? You're welcome. I'll sell you that metal for $500. You should be able to construct a right pretty rocket if you work alone. In about 30 years. Everyone laughed. Don't laugh. Sam looked at him with quiet good humor. Sam, Bittering said, your eyes. What about them, Harry? Didn't they used to be gray? Well, now, I don't remember. They were, weren't they? Why do you ask, Harry? Because now they're kind of yellow colored. Is that so, Harry? Sam said casually. And you're taller and thinner. You might be right, Harry. Sam, you shouldn't have yellow eyes. Harry, what color eyes have you got? Sam said. My eyes, they're blue, of course. Here you are, Harry. Sam handed him a pocket mirror. Take a look at yourself. Mr. Bittering hesitated and then raised the mirror to his face. There were little, very dim flecks of new gold captured in the blue of his eyes. Now look what you've done, said Sam a moment later. You've broken my mirror. Harry Bittering moved into the metal shop and began to build the rocket. Men stood in the open door and talked and joked without raising their voices. Once in a while, they gave him a hand on lifting something, but mostly they just idled and watched him with their yellowing eyes. It's supper time.
Okay, now here we're having this. Let's just admit those people. Um, when he talked to Sam, when Harry talked to Sam, and he told him, like, look at your own eyes. Your eyes started to get yellow. Sam told him your eyes too started getting yellow, or like started having yellow flakes or golden flakes. Now, what does this mean, girls?
That they also
That they're
started to
starting
change.
Can I
to
answer?
that, like Harry said,
Change.
like
Perfect.
Harry said, that
They
there's
themselves, they themselves started to change. Yes. And his feelings and his fear were correct. He was
they were
afraid that they
completely
may
true.
get, yes, that he was so scared that they may change at one point. And what happened is that, yes, they actually started to change. I mean, like it never happens in normal life that you sleep with the brown eyes and then you wake up the next day with green eyes.
No, that does not work. That's like
I think
something.
No.
only babies. I think only babies their eyes change.
Yes.
Yes, babies, because
Yes.
they're just like their shapes and faces start to start being formed and like start getting adapted to the situation and to the environment like around them. But I'm talking about a grown-up person like you, for example. If your eyes color is brown, would it ever happen that you wake up the next morning with green eyes?
No, I cannot change
No,
it.
never.
Oh,
I
Never.
wish.
Oh, yeah. So what happened now?
only if
Well,
it
not in a proven scientific fact.
So not everything he said came true.
It's science fiction.
It's a science fiction, yes.
I
So
just
here
get scared
the
to go.
change that started to happen. So the first thing that happened was, if you remember, was the peach blossoms, and he was the only one to notice. Later on, they started noticing the green roses, and then his son started noticing the third horn in the cow. Now their eyes started to get yellow, and his friends started to get thinner and taller, so the shapes, the physical shape of the characters started to change.
Said. His wife appeared with his supper in a wicker basket. I won't touch it, he said. I'll eat only food from our deep freeze, food that came from Earth, nothing from our garden. His wife stood watching him. You can't build a rocket. I worked in a shop once when I was 20. I know metal. Once I get it started, the others will help, he said, not looking at her, laying out the blueprints. Harry, Harry, she said helplessly. We've got to get away, Cora. We've got to. The nights were full of wind that blew down the empty moonlit sea meadows, past the little white chess cities lying for their 12,000th year in the shallows. In the Earthmen's settlement, the Bittering house shook with a feeling of change. Lying abed, Mr. Bittering felt his bones shifted, shaped, melted like gold. His wife, lying beside him, was dark from many sunny afternoons. Dark she was and golden-eyed, burnt almost black by the sun, sleeping, and the children metallic in their beds, and the wind roaring forlorn and changing through the old peach trees, the violet grass shaking out green rose petals.
So not only the appearance, the look, the feelings, the color of the eyes, everything
The
started to
mentality.
change with the character, the mentality as well. What do I mean by the word forlorn? Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's an adjective that means,
Forlorn.
Abundance of
Adjective.
desert.
Abandoned or deserted.
so forlorn is an adjective. Write the word's meaning. Write the meaning of the word. Forlorn, it's an adjective and it means abandoned or deserted.
Teacher, it's written on the book.
Already
Yes.
written?
Yeah.
Already
You
written.
have to memorize these words.
Okay.
Uh, page what? Can someone tell Durer?
134.
134.
134.
134. 134 Durer.
Paragraph 132. Paragraph.
Paragraph 132. We're starting paragraph 132, right? Yes. So now, ladies, you're most welcome. Um, Now he started building a rocket. Did anyone help him? Did
No.
anyone help? No.
No.
No, they
No.
only helped
Why?
him carry
Why do you
some
think?
loads.
Why? They didn't help. Why?
Because they
Because
thought
they
like he
didn't
won't
think that he
finish the
could do
rocket.
it.
Like he need 30 years to finish
Yeah,
it.
they will be like,
But he was a little bit strange. It's like they didn't care. They didn't care.
Because they didn't
Yeah,
want
they
to go
like
to
the
Earth. They
They
didn't want
didn't, they
to.
didn't
Yes,
want
all your answers are actually correct. Number one, they didn't go to Earth in the first place. Number two, they found it insane and crazy that someone builds a whole rocket on his own. Number three, they were like hopeless. They didn't believe that he can actually build a rocket and go back.
If I was in his place, I would have cried from these people. These people are so rude.
Are so rude, or that something happened on Mars that started changing their identities. They started changing their way of thinking. They seem to
Yes,
be careless.
I noticed that they
they
changed
didn't they didn't care.
before Harry and his wife
Their
and their
attitude
father
changed.
changed
Their,
before them.
their
Yes,
attitude changed.
their
They forgot
attitude
where they came from.
changed. Exactly. They seem to be forgetting where did they come from. Let's continue.
They began to
The
forget their
fear
own
would not
identity.
stop. He had his throat and heart. It dripped in a wetness of the arm and the temple and the trembling palm. A green star rose in the east. A strange word emerged from Mr. Bittering's lips. Eort, Eort. He repeated it. It was a Martian word. He knew no Martian.
Now, did you notice this? He started speaking Martian words, though
Yes,
he never knew Martian language.
What is Eeyore?
Erod, Erod is a Martian word for the word Earth.
Uh-huh.
So
From what I heard.
It's Earth, but in Martian language. He never knew Martian language. He never met a Martian person. Now, one way or another, he started speaking in Martian. Is that normal?
That's kind of
no,
scary.
no,
That's kind of
Don't
scary, isn't it? So
this
can
is
I
can you
scary.
like go to bed today and the next morning you find yourself speaking German, for example, without even going to Germany any
That's
day?
real, that's
No,
real
it's
scary for all
terrifying.
of
Yes,
us.
I'll say about myself crazy.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's impossible.
that's scary.
It's not
It's
realistic.
impossible. Like,
I would ask her to
yes.
tell
How many
me.
move like that?
So
I would love
Erot
to
is
the
an old Martian word for the word Earth, but Harry Bittering says he knows no Martian words. So I think here the author wants to show Harry's character is changing, not only the color, but also the language. Harry is beginning to speak Martian. I want you to write down this. I think the author wants to show that Harry's character is changing and he started talking Martian. So not only the physical shape, not only the food, not only the appearance and the color, but also the language. Okay, did you write this?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Now we will continue.
In the middle of the night, he arose and dialed a call through to Simpson, the archaeologist. Simpson, what does the word Eort mean? Why, that's the old Martian word for our planet Earth. Why? No special reason. The telephone slipped from his hand. Hello, 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 it kept saying while he sat gazing out at the green star. Bittering! Harry, are you there? The days were full of metal sound. He laid the frame of the rocket with the reluctant help of three indifferent men. He grew very tired in an hour or so and had to sit down. The altitude, laughed a man. Are you eating, Harry? Asked another. I'm eating, he said angrily. From your deep freeze? Yes. You're getting thinner, Harry. I'm not. And taller. Liar. His wife took him aside a few days later. Harry, I've used up all the food in the deep freeze. There's nothing left. I'll have to make sandwiches using food grown on Mars. He sat down heavily. You must eat, she said. You're weak. Yes, he said. He He took a sandwich, opened it, looked at it, and began to nibble at it. And take the rest of the day off, she said. It's hot. The children want to swim in the canals and hike. Please come along. I can't waste time. This is a crisis. Just for an hour, she urged. A swim will do you good. He rose, sweating. All right. Leave me alone. I'll come. Good for you, Harry.
Okay. Now he started eating like from the deep freeze, and he didn't accept eating food from the foods that were planted on Mars. And now the food they brought from Earth has started to change, to end. Like they used all of it, and now he has no other choice but eating the food that was grown on Mars. People told him that he started to get
After the
taller
food he
and
started to be
thinner.
stronger.
Yes. So what happened is that he was like almost killing himself at work, like working on the rocket, and his wife said that he needs to take a break. Canals, what do
Miss
I mean by
Asif,
canal?
Canals. Noun. Artificial waterways for transportation or irrigation.
So she said that they really needed a change. The children wanted to have a change, and he needed to take a break. Now we will see what happens when they start this short trip.
The sun was hot, the day quiet. There was only an immense staring burn upon the land. They moved along the canal, the father, the mother, the racing children in their swimsuits. They stopped and ate meat sandwiches. He saw their skin baking brown, and he saw the yellow eyes of his wife and his children, their eyes that were never yellow before. A few tremblings shook him, but were carried off in waves of pleasant heat as he lay in the sun. He was too tired to be afraid.
Now he almost killed himself working on the rocket. Immense means very large. It's an adjective.
Immense. Adjective. Very large.
Okay, so they have totally changed now.
teacher, I think as if he's starting to get crazy. He can't believe it. Like,
Yes, he totally can believe. There is this part in his heart that keeps resisting or like keeps denying the fact that this started to change. There's only this part in his heart that is human.
I think it was a nightmare for him.
It was a nightmare because he's the only one who or like who seems to notice.
Mhm.
Taking small bites, yes. Nibble means to take a small bites.
Teacher, if I was in Harry's place, I would just kill myself because I cannot sit in a planet that I don't know about it for an
Well,
unknown.
he took the decision from the very first place and he wanted to go there. So he has to accept it. Plus, if he killed himself, this won't change the fact that his family as well started to change. So he has to face it and to help his
but
family.
If
this
I
is
was in
teacher.
his
This is
place,
living on Mars is the only way to stay alive because now the Earth, as you said, like bombs are hitting it and it's completely being destroyed. So if they went there, surely they will die. Surely.
if I
Sure, of
was
Here
in
they're
course.
his
only
place,
changing. There they will die.
I
if I
have a small question.
Yes.
Why didn't they choose the moon? It's
In Mars,
better.
they
Why didn't they choose Jupiter? But I guess
That's
Jupiter is
Well,
very.
well,
any of planets
according
and
to this
moons.
story, according to the story, I would also decided that they are living on Mars.
Oh, okay.
Miss,
Do
I
do you
think
really believe that something will change if they were on
Teacher, your
another
sound is
planet?
lagging. I
Like,
can't hear
No,
you.
no, I don't
Miss,
think
I
so.
don't know if they
Miss,
would
can I add
change if
something?
they
In
were
Mars,
on a planet or like.
in Mars
can
they
you hear
die,
me
and
now?
in her they will die. Yes, teacher, we can hear you now.
In the Earth,
Yes,
in the Moon, it's going to be different because they need to wear like the suits, the space
Miss,
suits,
teacher, can I
because
add
there is no
something?
need.
Remember, we're talking about a science fiction story and we stick to the details of our story.
If I was in his place, I would
Miss, can I
have
add
looked
something?
at them and told them they have to make a rocket with me.
Miss, I don't
Well,
know.
but he already did, but nobody
Can I add
believed
something?
him. This is the problem. Nobody helped except for three men and not continuously helping them.
I
Let's
think Mars
continue.
they will change but not
All
die.
right.
And
How
hers they will die.
Yeah.
long have your eyes been yellow? She answered, always, I guess. They didn't change from brown in the last 3 months. She bit her lips. No, why do you ask? Never mind. They sat there. The children's eyes, he said. They're yellow too. Sometimes growing children's eyes change color. Maybe we're children too, at least to Mars. That's a thought. He laughed. Think I'll swim.
Okay. Now, a very weird thing that happened with the wife is that she never changed she never noticed that her eyes color started changing. When he asked her how long have your eyes been yellow, she said always. She said like always. My eyes have always been yellow. And that's weird. That's strange because he's the one who's noticing the change and other people don't notice the change.
They leaped into the canal water, and he let himself sink down and down to the bottom like a golden statue and lie there in green silence. All was water quiet and deep. All was peace. He felt the steady, slow current drift him easily.
Okay, so now he took himself under the water and he started thinking underwater. Now let's listen to what he thought about. That the coming sound will be the sound of his inner thoughts, of his ideas.
If I lie here long enough, he thought, the water will work and eat away my flesh until the bones show like coral. Just my skeleton left. And then the water can build on that skeleton. Green things, deep water things, red things, yellow things. Change, change. Slow, deep, silent change. And isn't that what it is up there? He saw the sky submerged above him, the sun made Martian by atmosphere and time and space. Up there, a big river, he thought, a Martian river, all of us lying deep in it, in our pebble houses, in our sunken boulder houses, like crayfish hidden, and the water washing away our old bodies and lengthening the bones, and he let himself drift up through the soft light. Dan sat on the edge of the canal, regarding his father seriously. Utha, he said. What? Asked his father. The boy smiled. You know, Utha's the Martian word for father.
So the children started talking Martian as well. Utha means father, but in a Martian language. So Harry's son is now beginning to use Martian words as well. Isn't that scary?
Yes.
Yes, it's really scary because
Things.
she
I
don't
would
know the Martian words. She just
run away.
speak.
Yes. So when he said at the beginning Erot, it means which means earth. He was surprised by when he started saying this word, and he was also surprised when the father when his son started saying Utha, which means um, father, but in Martian language. So this suggests that Harry's son will now start speaking Martian. It's a turning point in the story. I want you to write next to it, next to paragraph 179, that it's a turning point in the story because it suggests that Harry's son is starting to become Martian and that more changes are on the way. Now, until this moment, the story centered mainly on Harry and his responses to the change. Now, the changes are actually affecting Harry's son too. Harry's son is completely different or having a completely different reaction than his father. He's not bothered at all. This development suggests that the story is about to go in a new direction. This is a turning point in the event. From the very first beginning, we were talking about the change and Harry's feeling towards the change. Now, the change started affecting his son as well, and his son started speaking Martian words. This means that the events of the story will go into a completely different direction, and sounds like things are going to change forever here. So, next to paragraph 179, write turning point.
Okay.
Let's continue.
Where did you learn it? I don't know, around. Utha. What do you want? The boy hesitated. I I want to change my name. Change it? Yes. His mother swam over. What's wrong with Dan for a name? Dan fidgeted. The other day you called Dan, Dan, Dan. I didn't even hear. I said to myself, that's not my name. I've a new name I want to use. Mr. Bittering held to the side of the canal, his body cold and his heart pounding slowly. What is this new name? Lenal. Isn't that a good name? Can I use it? Can I please? Mr. Bittering put his hand to his head. He thought of the silly rocket, himself working alone, himself alone even among his family, so alone. He heard his wife say, why not? He heard himself say, yes, you can use it. Yay! Screamed the boy. I'm Lenal! Lenal! Racing down the meadowlands, he danced and shouted. Mr. Bittering looked at his wife. Why did we do that? I don't know, she said. It just seemed like a good idea.
Okay, so they even started changing their identities. The son changed his name into a Martian name, Lino.
They walked into the hills. They strolled on old mosaic paths, beside still pumping fountains. The paths were covered with a thin film of cool water all summer long. You kept your bare feet cool all the day, splashing as in a creek.
What do I mean by mosaic?
Mosaic. Adjective. Made of many small pieces of colored glass or stone.
Yes.
Fading. They came to a small deserted Martian villa with a good view of the valley. It was on top of a hill. Blue marble halls, large murals, a swimming pool. It was refreshing in this hot summertime. The Martians hadn't believed in large cities. How nice, said Mrs. Bittering, if we could move up here to this villa for the summer. Come on, he said. We're going back to town. There's work to be done on the rocket. But as he worked that night, the thought of the cool blue marble villa entered his mind. As the hours passed, the rocket seemed less important. In the flow of days and weeks, the rocket receded and dwindled. The old fever was gone. It frightened him to think he had let it slip this way, but somehow the heat, the air, the working conditions. He heard the men murmuring on the porch of his metal shop.
So, before we continue, they saw when they were like on their break, on their vacation or on their trip, they saw the old Martian villa, which was very nice, very neat, very like um high fashion. Like it was very nice villa, and they wanted to move in there since no Martian people were found anymore. So they wanted to go live in this villa for the rest of the summer, and he started losing hope. He started losing enthusiasm about building the rocket. The idea seemed to be like he's not stick to the idea anymore. He doesn't really want to go um complete or finish the rocket. Now what happens is this: for the coming paragraphs, he will not, like some of the men will tell him, that we will go to the old Martian ruins or to the old cities of the Martian people, and we would stay there for the summer. They will suggest that he has to go join them. Will he agree or not? What do you think?
He will. Miss, it won't be like
Teacher,
really, but like his wife is gonna convince him in some way.
His wife is going to convince him one way, and she's going to tell him the rocket can wait for a few months, and then we can finish building the rocket when we come back.
Miss
Will
few
they
months, they
ever
stayed
come
there
back?
for 5 years.
Yes, exactly.
They stayed there
Will
for
they
about
ever
5 years,
come
no
back?
forever.
I don't
No,
think
Will
so.
they
They've
ever
already
come back?
changed.
They will never come back. Let's see what happens.
Going. You heard?
that
All
is the
going.
part
That's
when
right. Bittering came out. Going where? He saw a couple of trucks loaded with children and furniture drive down the dusty street. Up to the villas, said the man. Yeah, Harry, I'm going. So is Sam. Aren't you, Sam? That's right, Harry. What about you? I've got work to do here. Work? You can finish that rocket in the autumn when it's cooler. He took a breath. I got the frame all set up. In the autumn is better. Their voices were lazy in the heat. Gotta work, he said. Autumn, they reasoned. And they sounded so sensible, so right. Autumn would be best, he thought. Plenty of time then. No, cried part of himself, deep down, put away, locked tight, suffocating. No, no.
Okay, if you look at paragraph 219, this is a perfect example of an inner conflict, internal conflict. Conflict. I want you to write it. That's an example of an internal conflict because one part of himself wants to go and take a break until autumn because it's very hot and he cannot work in this condition. And another part of himself wants to finish building the rocket and go back to Earth. So this is an example of an internal conflict, a struggle. This is a struggle that he's having within himself. He now into the struggle between whether to complete or to continue finishing the rocket so they could go back to Earth and stop the change that is happening to their bodies, or to take a break and go to the villas, the old Martian villas, until the autumn comes, and then he can come back and finish building the rocket. What will happen is this.
In the autumn, he said. Come on, Harry, they all said. Yes, he said, feeling his flesh melt in the hot, liquid air. Yes, in the autumn. I'll begin work again then. I got a villa near the Tara Canal, said someone. You mean the old Roosevelt Canal, don't you? Tara, the old Martian name. But on the map, forget the map, it's Tara now. Now I found a place in the Pelon Mountains. You mean the Rockefeller Range, said Bittering. I mean the Pelon Mountains, said Sam. Yes, said Bittering, buried in the hot swarming air. The Pelon Mountains.
Remember at the beginning of the story when they said that they changed the old Martian name. Durar, why do you keep asking when the class ends? The class ends when it ends. It ends at 10:30. This means we have 6 minutes left. Remember at the beginning of our story
Yeah, miss, they
when we
named it.
had, yes, they named the cities, towns, the mountains, they named it after their American names.
Miss,
Now they started using the old Martian
Martian
names.
name.
Why did it
yeah,
happen?
Tara
They started
cannot.
changing and using the
they're
Martian
turning
names.
Martians.
Yeah, they're turning
Because
into
they
They're
Martians.
changed.
turning into Martians. Yes.
Everyone worked at
They
loading the
must
truck on the hot, still afternoon of the next day. Laura, Dan, and David carried packages, or, as they preferred to be known, Teal, Lemuel, and Ware carried packages. The furniture was abandoned in the little white cottage. It looked just fine in Boston, said the mother, and here in the cottage, but up at the villa, no. We'll get it when we come back in the autumn. Bittering himself was quiet. I've some ideas on furniture for the villa, he said after a time. Big, lazy furniture. What about your encyclopedia? You're taking it along, surely. Mr. Bittering glanced away. I'll come and get it next week. They turned to their daughter. What about your New York dresses? The bewildered girl stared. Why, I don't want them any more. They shut off the gas, the water. They locked the doors and walked away. Father peered into the truck. Gosh, we're not taking much. Considering all we brought to Mars, this is only a handful. He started the truck. Looking at the small white cottage for a long moment, he was filled with a desire to rush to it, touch it, say goodbye to it, for he felt as if he were going away on a long journey, leaving something to which he could never quite return, never understand again. Just then Sam and his family drove by in another truck. Hi, Bittering, here we go. The truck swung down the ancient highway out of town. There were 60 others traveling in the same direction. The town filled with a silent, heavy dust from their passage. The canal waters lay blue in the sun, and a quiet wind moved in the strange trees. Goodbye, town, said Mr. Bittering. Goodbye, goodbye, said the family, waving to it. They did not look back again. Summer burned the canals dry. Summer moved like flame upon the meadows. In the empty earth settlement, the painted houses flaked and peeled. Rubber tires upon which children had swung in backyards hung suspended like stopped clock pendulums in the blazing air. At the metal shop, the rocket frame began to rust. In the quiet autumn, Mr. Bittering stood, very dark now, very golden-eyed, upon the slope above his villa, looking at the valley. It's time to go back, said Cora. Yes, but we're not going, he said quietly. There's nothing there anymore. Your books, she said. Your fine clothes. Your Ila's. And your fine Ior Are, she said. The town's empty. No one's going back, he said. There's no reason to. None at all. The daughter wove tapestries, and the sons played songs on ancient flutes and pipes, their laughter echoing in the marble villa. Mr. Bittering gazed at the earth settlement far away in the low valley. Such odd, such ridiculous houses the earth people built. They didn't know any better, his wife mused. Such ugly people. I'm glad they've gone. They both looked at each other, startled by all they had just finished saying. They laughed. Where did they go? He wondered. He glanced at his wife. She was golden and slender as his daughter. She looked at him, and he seemed almost as young as their eldest son. I don't know, she said. We'll go back to town, maybe next year or the year after, or the year after that, he said calmly. Now I'm warm. How about taking a swim? They turned their backs to the valley. Arm in arm, they walked silently down a path of clear running spring water.
Now, ladies, they totally changed. That even they no longer remember that they were the Earth people coming from Earth at the very first beginning. Now they are looking from the window of the villa to the old houses they built, and they started saying, what an ugly people, like ugly houses, and they are happy that the Earth people had gone, not realizing that they themselves are the ugly people they are talking about.
Yes.
So
MashaAllah.
now
About
they
this.
are
Yeah,
totally
And
brainwashed.
yes.
they like they lost their
Yes.
memory.
They lost their memory and they lost their identity as well.
They didn't remember that's her man hurt or human
Yes,
hurt.
they don't remember that they are the earth people. They don't remember that these houses or the old houses belong to them. The rocket started to rust. They didn't want to go back to take the books or the clothes. They didn't touch this place. They didn't even realize that they were the ones who built this house
They
or
didn't.
these houses at the beginning. That they even started saying how ugly places and ugly people. And this is how the story ends. 5 years later, a rocket comes from Earth to planet Mars, and the humans, or like the new Earth people, find no Earth people from like those who traveled 5 years ago. They find no one. They only find the Martian people. As you already know, there were no Martian people at the beginning. It was always been those Earth people at the very first beginning, but they changed. into Martian people. So, do you think what happened to Mr. Bittering and his family will happen to the ones who arrive on the new rocket?
No, teacher. I don't think so because
No,
they
miss.
have a
As
rocket
long
and
as yeah, miss. As long as they have a rocket.
No,
And
it won't.
they can they so that they can go back
yeah, at any
Yeah.
time they want.
most probably. That's it for today. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
We
miss.
will answer the questions of this selection. Now we finished explaining it. Now we will start answering the questions starting from Sunday, Monday, and the coming Tuesday, inshallah. Read it once more and study well, memorize or study the vocabulary words, and do your homework. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, teacher. You too.
Thank you.
I just want to add something. She didn't say Claire